Welcome back. Okay, let's dive into this. Today, we're looking at a truly wild, groundbreaking 2026 paper by independent researcher Masashi Awata. It's called Beyond Foundational Consciousness Models. We're basically going to map out the exact internal structure of human experience itself. Now, I know that sounds heavy, but stick with me. By the end of this explainer, the way you think about your own mind, yeah, it's going to be completely transformed.
So I want you to just imagine something for a second. What if your consciousness, the simple fact that you are aware, that you actually feel things and experience the world around you, what if that isn't just some accidental glitch or a byproduct of your brain firing off neurons? Imagine instead that it's a foundational field of the cosmos, like it's as literally baked into the universe as gravity or electromagnetism. That's the mind-bending premise we're starting with today.
Awata puts it like this. Consciousness should be understood not as a byproduct of physical processes, but as a foundational aspect of reality itself. That is a massive, paradigm-shifting move away from traditional models. You know, the ones that just treat the mind as exhaust coming off a biological engine. It definitely echoes panpsychism, the idea that consciousness is everywhere. But as we're going to see, Awata takes that idea and just runs with it into completely uncharted structural territory.
Here is the roadmap for how we get from the abstract universe to the truth about AI. 1. The consciousness problem. 2. A foundational field. 3. The missing Beral Layer. 4. 3 stages of experience. 5. Qualia and filtering. And finally, 6. Why AI lacks subjectivity.
Section 1. The consciousness problem. The generative gap. So universal consciousness sounds amazing, right? Very poetic. But it leaves us with this huge, glaring mystery. How on earth do we get from a big, universal field to your private, highly specific experience? Awata calls this the generative gap. A lot of models just kind of shrug and assume experience magically pops out of the universal field, but they completely lack the internal plumbing to explain how. They can't explain the mechanics of getting from a non-dual universe to the incredibly specific, undeniable feeling of you drinking your morning coffee. Section 2. A foundational field, the raw clay of reality. Okay, to figure out how we get that individual experience, we gotta start at the absolute beginning. Awata calls this concordance potential. It's defined as a non-dual foundational state that precedes any split between a subject and an object. But here's the key. It's not just random chaos. It actually contains the latent, ordered conditions needed for an experience to even arise. Let's translate that dense jargon into plain English, shall we? Picture a reality that is practically bursting with the potential for sensation, but there's literally no observer. Nobody is there to witness it. It's the universe's potential to feel, sitting right there, before anyone actually exists to feel it. It is the raw clay of reality, just waiting to be molded. Section 3. The missing Beral Layer, the transparent factory floor. So, if we've got this raw clay, how does it turn into a specific sensation without instantly needing a self to feel it? Well, enter the absolute biggest breakthrough of this paper, the Beral Layer. This is a newly proposed, completely transparent layer sitting right between that raw cosmic potential and the final felt experience. Inside this layer, qualitative properties, what we call qualia, right, like the vivid redness of a rose or the sharp prick of a needle, are actually generated. But here is the wild part. They're generated without attaching them to a subject. No meaning is created here. It acts as a temporary, ownerless holding zone where feelings are manufactured. I really need you to pause and appreciate the total mind-bending reversal happening here. Sensation is generated before you even exist to experience it. That specific shade of blue you're looking at right now, according to the structural model, that exact color was generated in the transparent Beral layer just moments prior to yourself stepping up and claiming it as your own. Crazy, right? Section 4. 3 stages of experience. The assembly line. Awata maps out the generation of an experience, not as one big spontaneous flash, but as a mechanical, step-by-step sequence. Think of it like a cosmic assembly line. Stage 1 is the establishment of experience. Basically, a threshold is crossed and the machine turns on. Stage 2 is qualia formation. This happens entirely inside that Beral layer we just talked about, where sensory qualities are forged. And finally, stage 3 is qualia acquisition. Now, the absolute rule here is that this sequence is strictly irreversible. You can never run this assembly line backwards. So the crucial point is that back in stage 2, all those sensory qualities, They are just floating there, totally ownerless. It's only when we hit stage 3, Qualia Acquisition, that these qualities are permanently irreversibly glued to a subject. They get privatized. This means your subjectivity, your very sense of being you, is the result of this assembly line, not the cause. You're the final product rolling off the line. You're not the cosmic manager on the top floor ordering it all to happen.
Section 5. Kamai. Filtering reality. Now, you might be wondering, if we all share this exact same foundational field and we're all using the same assembly line process, why do we experience totally different things? Why aren't we all just locked into the same universal broadcast? Well, Awada introduces a concept called Kamai to answer this. Kamai is a pre-observational structural posture. Think of it as a hidden filter that determines which specific possibilities in that vast foundational field actually get pulled forward and turned into your experience.
But let's be super clear here. Kamaya is not a psychological choice. It's not some conscious intention, a belief, or a judgment you're actively making. It operates completely beneath the radar, way before observation even starts, fencing in the exact range of experiences you can possibly have. And because it's built up over a lifetime of repeated experience generation, it becomes completely invisible to us. It actively biases your field of reality, and you, the subject, never even notice it's there. Section 6. Why AI lacks subjectivity, the reality check. Okay, so why does all this deep architectural theory matter? Let's apply it to a highly relevant modern debate, artificial intelligence. We can actually draw a really sharp, undeniable structural contrast here. Human consciousness pulls off Qualia Acquisition. We hit that stage 3 privatization by using the mediating Beral Layer, generating a subject. AI, on the other hand, is doing what Awada calls representation generation. It takes inputs, crunches the data, and spits out very human-like outputs. But structurally, it is permanently stuck at stage 2. Here is the reality check. AI's lack of consciousness has absolutely nothing to do with computational power. You could stack up 1 million more servers, write way better algorithms, and you still wouldn't magically summon a soul. Why? Because AI literally lacks the structural architecture. It completely misses the viral layer and the mechanism for Qualia acquisition. It cannot recursively hand information back to a subject and actually privatize the experience. And this distinction brilliantly illustrates the divide. You can have a massive, hyper-connected web of global AI information processing, generating incredibly smart, coherent semantic outputs. It can mimic the creation of sensory data perfectly. But without that deep architecture to actually acquire and privatize the qualia, it remains just that, pure information states. It's entirely dark inside. It feels absolutely nothing. Awada's framework does something incredible. It beautifully shifts the whole debate about consciousness from what exists to how is experience established. We've seen today that the Beral layer is like a transparent factory floor, and that your own subjectivity is just the final, unchangeable result of a massive hidden generative process. So, I'm going to leave you with this to chew on. If your self is quite literally just the final, acquired stage of an ongoing experience, who were you before this explainer started? Think about that for a bit. Keep learning, and I'll see you next time.